Welcome to Is Anybody Listening to Me podcast with Azar and the Meat. Today we have our special guest Jarvis who will be joining us, who's already been pre-gaming with some cocktails, so he's extra feisty coming on today. We're going to dive into a quick whiskey review. I had a chance to be in Kentucky and found a brand of whiskey that I wanted to share with the group. And Big Meat and I have been waiting, and Jarvis actually watched this, so he's going to have some input. We're going to discuss Loki, the season finale, its impact on the Marvel Universe. And Black Widow is finally out, the long-awaited movie. And Big Meat and I had a chance to watch that, so we're going to give you guys a quick review on that one. And Jarvis is going to give you a prequel review of Jungle Cruise before it comes out, because his man, The Rock, is in it. And then we're going to do a little fantasy. Jarvis has a bone to pick with us since we just said the magazines are the only way to go with fantasy. He wants to tell us how printing off papers and playing on his iPhone all day is the way to go. Actually, I don't even think he owns an iPhone. So it's Samsung. I'm sorry. He's not even civilized to own an iPhone. And then we'll do a quick second year running back fantasy draft. So let me welcome my partner, Big Meat. How's it going?
Good. I miss you guys. I certainly miss you guys. And it just occurred to me, maybe Jarvis, doesn't prefer the magazine because he's a tree hugger. Do we know this for sure? Like does he like to hug trees, or
saving the planet? Is he one of those people now?
Yeah, a little climate change guy. Like what?
Well, stranger things have happened. Mr. Roper went to and joined Antifa with our boy Antifa boy. So
that is true.
Is it possible that Jarvis has joined the dark side?
No.
He's got other reasons that we will soon discover on this long-awaited podcast.
I still drive a V8 Hemi ultra premium gas guzzling bigger SUV than I'll ever need. I make sure my house emits carbon. I will never live that net zero life. Bring on the carbon, down with the ozone.
When he sells his car and buys a bicycle, then something's up.
Yeah, he's going to be the first guy in line to get an SUV electric vehicle.
That's for other reasons. If that pays off my house, then you damn right.
I don't even know where to go with that. All right, we'll leave it there. Well, it's good to have everybody. It's been again with summer vacations and stuff like that. It's tough to keep it consistent, but we pretty soon in a couple of weeks we'll be diving fully on a weekly podcast because we're so close to fantasy season kicking off. So Big Meat and I are excited, and Jarvis is excited to add to the conversation, and we have some things that we planning to do as we roll into fantasy season. And I think finally the Buffalo Wing contest will happen. I think it's coming. And I don't know, Big Meat, if you saw it, Buffalo Wild Wings has a contest now with one of their super hot wings. You got to eat 10 of them within a certain window
I've had those hot wings before. And I know Jarvis isn't a fan of the Buffalo Wild Wings because it's like
I've had the hottest sauce.
Yeah. So, but I mean the food itself isn't anything great, but their hottest sauce, I think they call it blazing.
Yeah, the blazing sauce
is ridiculous. To have 10 and how much time, Azar?
I'm pulling it up right now.
It doesn't matter if it's an hour. You cannot eat 10 of those in 1 hour.
It's definitely less than an hour. I think it's within much shorter, the Blazing Challenge. All right, let's see. For those,
if you ate them really fast and just suffered like those couple of minutes that you just wolf them down, then maybe you could do it. But that'll kill you.
So when you guys looked it up, so this one looks like it's
not kidding.
The way this wasn't even the topic we pre-gamed on, but we're just bringing it up. Do you know? I don't know. Have you had the hot sauce? With the Carolina Reaper pepper? Is that the one?
Because I have had that one.
And that pepper, if you look at it on the scale of the
Scoville scale,
it is ridiculous.
5 minutes in, John, I'm already giving him the tips.
It's no tip. I'm just telling you. I don't know.
You didn't know the name. I knew the name.
Okay, I apologize. That's why you're on this, Jarvis.
That's what I'm saying. That's it. I know my contribution factor. That and the Rock. Just to remind you he's there.
So you have to eat them, Big Meat, 5 minutes. 10 in 5 minutes.
10 in 5 minutes. Now, what do you get?
I
An
don't know what you
ulcer.
get. a
You
burn.
get your ass on fire for days. So that's what you get.
It's basically a hole in your rectum. But it's funny because when you read the rules, you basically got to eat everything to the bone, everything. And it basically says if you vomit or regurgitate or burp, like you're out. Like you're already eliminated. You can't have any drinks with it. You can't have bread.
Oh,
You just got to eat them within 5 minutes.
Well, I've had one of those before, and then like I just got through the second one, and I thought I was gonna pass out. So the fact that having 10 of them, that's hard. That's hard. Even for me.
I
can't do it.
I had the time I had it, I bought a bottle of the sauce. And
did you really?
I did. I bought a bottle of it, and I would go through it occasionally. Most primarily used for, like, I would make something for somebody, and like slide that sauce in this, and take a bite.
That's just cruel. That's just cruel.
That was.
I was there years ago. I think my daughter was around 8, and we asked for it a little bit on the side, and I said, just to try it, just to whatever. And I dipped like the tip of like the French fry in it, just to like try it. And I dared my daughter to do it. I didn't realize that she dipped the whole ketchup, the whole French fry in the sauce, and went to go bite it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I was like asking the waitress to bring over like a gallon of milk just to like have her wash it down.
Oh
The
no!
girl was like dying. Yeah,
That's just cruel. All right, child services will be knocking on the door.
Milk does not work. By the way, milk is not good.
Dairy, it does. It does. It's it counters it a little bit. No, I've done some studies on this.
Somebody poured a gallon of milk over my face after I got pepper sprayed. I was rolling around on the sidewalk at Hampton Beach, and somebody dumped a gallon of milk on my face.
Yeah,
it's all the same. It's pepper.
Let's dive into this. So we did mention. So you were getting pepper sprayed at a protest?
yeah, exactly. Why?
It wasn't a protest.
Let's get into why did you get pepper sprayed?
I saw footage of that during one of those Antifa rallies.
No. This was before Antifa.
Were you with Mr. Roper? You were with Mr. Roper.
Mr. Roper was not there at that. This was at an epic beach house bender on M Street.
I'm sure it was. All right. Well, you know what? Maybe we got to keep a closer eye on our boy Jarvis here. Maybe he is a little bit of a sneaky Antifa guy, but
do you know? Okay. Well, so the reason it was because I tried to take the pepper spray off of his belt before he turned around and used it.
And that is a tactic I do see a lot of Antifa people do with the police. So that is
true.
Listen, I was
very Antifa-like.
I was very Antifa-like. This was over 10 years ago.
Oh, good. So you're training Antifa people. You're training.
They're just trying to keep up.
So you're the guy that started Antifa.
Yes.
You are
all those minions are just doing my bidding.
You are the man behind the curtain. You're like the Phantom Menace out there.
No, I am Fang or Kang or whatever the hell we're going to talk about.
I knew you were going to say something about his name. I was waiting for it.
All right.
Fang is a good one.
Oh God, he's coming primed. He's been holding these things for a week. We know it.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let me jump in. We'll do the quick liquor review because we have a lot of topics to cover. So from a liquor perspective, I just got back from Kentucky, the heartland of Kentucky bourbons, and I got to say, driving down one of their main highways, there are distilleries everywhere, and they all have tours. And I saw the Maker's Mark Distillery had a tour, Jim Beam. It just like every time you went past the town, there was like another distillery for bourbon. So it was pretty cool being down there. I didn't get a chance because of the weather to get to go explore some of them as much as I hoped due to the crazy schedule we had. But I did bring back one that I found in all places. It was in a Target. And the only reason I picked it is because it was only one of the few they actually had a security cap on it. There was all these other like brands like Maker's Mark and all that. None of them had security tags on them, but this particular one did. So it piqued my interest. And it was a small batch. And we drove by the town onto one of my daughter's tournaments, and we drove by it. And I was like, oh, we just drove by that town. So it's called Minor Case Straight Rye Whiskey. And it's got a cherry cask finish. And it's brewed in Lebanon, Kentucky, which forget the Lebanon before any jokes start digging in. But it was in Lebanon, Kentucky. And
you should have left that out.
Yeah. So anyways, it's the brewery or the distillery is called Limestone Branch Distillery. So I bought the bottle, gave it to some of the other dads that we had a chance to have wanted to do a taste testing. So, I did a little research for the podcast. I got to say the feedback was phenomenal. And I didn't get a chance to buy some bottles and stock up before I came home, but I lucked out and found they did have a bottle stocked in the New Hampshire liquor stores. And I know there was one with an extensive display case up in Londonderry, New Hampshire. So if you want to try it, it's called the Minor Case Straight Rye Whiskey. It's a small bottle, and it's got a label on it that says cherry cask finish. It is super smooth, and I can't wait for you guys to try it because it is probably one of the smoothest bourbons I've ever or rye whiskeys that I've ever actually tried. It's so smooth that I think it would be fantastic in an old-fashioned big meat or a Manhattan that you like. I think because isn't that what you use bullet whiskey for? You use
bullet
rye.
Usually bullet rye. Yes.
So
yes.
I think
yes.
you would like.
But I like how you say that because you make me feel like an old man with the Manhattans and the old fashions that I like. Yeah.
Well, you are an old man.
Yes, I am. Actually, somebody said that to me the other day. We went out and I said, yeah, I order old fashions, Manhattans. So he's like, oh, all the old man drinks. And I go, yeah, well, I am an old man. Look at me. I got gray hair. Like, yeah, exactly. So I fit the profile. But yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
Well, I'm glad. That's what I'm here for. So
anything to hide the fact he went to Lebanon, Kentucky.
Yeah. And there's a Lebanon, New Hampshire, too. I'm surprised
there is.
There's so many Lebanons everywhere in the United States.
I actually said that. I couldn't believe how many, and I think there might be a Lebanon, Ohio that we drove by too on the way down to Kentucky. So it is a very common name, which surprises me. I didn't realize how common it is. But anyways, definitely worth the price. And it actually was cheaper up here in New Hampshire, which blows me away that I was a couple towns over from where it's made, and it was actually $5 more than actually what it was in the New Hampshire liquor store.
Do you think it could be like a brand recognition thing down in Kentucky? Everybody knows it, everybody loves it, so they buy crazy amounts of it, and then they could
not
up
necessarily
the price on it?
Because you go to Florida and they grow oranges and grapefruits in Florida, but they're twice as expensive to buy in Florida than in Massachusetts. A Florida-grown orange and grapefruit are twice as expensive.
But everybody, it's so well known. It's known that oranges come from Florida, so I can get that part of it. But this is a specific brand whiskey, right? That Azar that you're referring to.
Okay. Talk about a specific brand of orange, Sunkissed. A Sunkissed orange costs
no. But I'm saying
in Florida.
But everybody knows that any oranges that come from Florida, they're going to be expensive because Florida is known for oranges. I understand Kentucky is known for whiskey as well.
What the hell are you talking about?
So many different
the price
of
an orange in the state of Florida is twice as much as the price of that same orange in the state of Massachusetts.
Oh, I thought you said it was more expensive here than down there.
No.
I thought that's what we were arguing about.
No, we're not arguing. You're arguing.
We are arguing.
Nothing.
No, I want to argue with you, damn it.
The price of a grapefruit in Florida.
How did this get from whiskey to oranges? What are we doing?
Is twice as expensive as the price of a grapefruit in Massachusetts. Are you with me?
This is
Azar's whiskey next to the distillery was more expensive than having to fly back to New Hampshire to buy it from a liquor store hundreds of miles away. It's the same.
Before you confuse me even further, all I want to know is could it be that because it's more expensive in Kentucky, is it because that it's just more people buy it when they're in Kentucky because they're more aware of it? What was the name of this whiskey? I mean, I'm sure I've never.
You already said it. What are you, a variant? Like what?
I want to. Hey, listen, Fang. Listen, Fang the Conqueror. Don't call me a variant.
How many times does Azar have to say minor case?
Minor case.
Bourbon.
All right.
I
don't listen. When Azar goes on one of his whiskey things, I don't really pay attention. I just sit there and
don't ask questions.
Until he says something interesting. And then I say, oh, let me ask about that.
God, it's just like one of my kids. He just tunes out the teacher until
exactly. It's just like, stop trying to teach me stuff. I don't want to learn. I don't want to learn anything during this podcast. I just want to
Folks, if you haven't noticed, this is going to be a long podcast because these two have been drinking. And
it shouldn't be.
One's ignoring.
No, I'm not going to let you say that disclaimer. I have not been out of line. I've put him in line twice. I have not been out of line.
Twice?
the fact that we're talking about oranges, Bigme's not even listening to the topic. He's just like,
My analogy was relevant.
All I heard was Kentucky and whiskey. That's all I heard. That's it. That's all I heard.
Let me answer it. Is I think the New Hampshire liquor store has probably can buy in bigger bulk. This one, when I bought it, was at a Target. I'm sure Target stores around the country they're not buying huge bulk for nationally because they probably don't stock liquor in all their stores. New Hampshire liquor stores are probably buying these things in higher volume, probably gets a better discount that they're passing.
I'm just going to let you keep talking while I go refill my drink.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Because I'm not listening to what you're saying.
Yeah, you're not adding anything. Anyways.
So you're just wasting my time right now from getting another drink?
So you know what's the best thing is? The one person with marketing experience doesn't understand pricing and is questioning and
he took the headphones off. He walked away.
Yeah, he's walking away. Yeah. So anyways, I don't know even what to say. So good luck to the company that hired him for marketing purposes. I can't imagine how the sales team must be looking at him when he's talking. But anyway,
man.
So before he comes back, let me get your perspective. So that was the whiskey review, and I think we'll have a standard by the fall of how we want to discuss these things. But it's definitely smooth. And I didn't know, Jarvis, from your experience, does the color from these whiskeys, how much of a difference is the color? Because I actually saw different versions of this minor case, and there's a darker, like more dark amber color.
Color is related to time in the barrel and type of barrel.
Okay.
So if you have a raw barrel, it's like the color of red oak or white oak. It's going to keep a lighter liquor.
Okay.
Like moonshine is clear because it doesn't sit in a barrel.
Okay.
Whereas you get to rye whiskeys and all that scotches, the barrels they sit in, the wines that they were in before, or the types of woods darken the liquor.
Okay. So when I say it was
darker, generally could be better in theory, because it would mean longer, or it was in a more seasoned cask.
Okay. So when someone's buying whiskey, if they were trying to pick which brand to go with, so you're thinking darker?
I would darker in relation to years, right? So if you're looking at a 12 or a 10 or a 12, the 12 should be darker. If you're looking at flavored, that could change the whole thing, because if you have like a cherry infused something like that, could darken it because there's more fruit and more stuff in it.
Okay. So
but I would generally go darker is usually more flavorful.
So I should probably correct. When I say cherry cask, it isn't a cherry like the fruit.
Wood from a cherry tree.
No. Cherry spelled SHERR. You know the alcohol cherry?
That's sherry. What the hell are you saying?
I was hearing cherry.
He said cherry like it's the fruit.
No, I'm telling you. It's
sherry, like the girl's name.
Cherry. I know. I wanted to clarify. Maybe because when you're saying that, I might have.
I didn't say it. You said cherry.
I know you combative ass.
Okay. You're admitting fault and then correcting your error.
Yeah, because I might have not been pronouncing it clear.
See what I mean, Azar? See what I mean?
Snake take. No, he just.
It's not a snake take.
It's just a snake take. It's not a snake take. It's a take snake.
Azar,
get it right.
The sherry is a wine. It's like a sherry wine is red, and the red stains the cask. Wait a minute. The red stained cask.
I just want Azar to say cherry. I just want him to say cherry.
And I'm not doing the S tongue twist. Sherry.
No, but I want you to say cherry.
Cherry. It's not a cherry.
All right, I just want to make sure. Maybe we just heard you wrong. And
I realize I've been saying it not clearly. So
maybe you're just learning now that you have a speech impediment.
Oh God. Okay. Anyways, for those that are listening, it's not cherry the fruit. It's sherry.
We really struggle with that.
What was the name that Azar we kept teasing him and he kept saying it wrong? What was that?
There's a football name.
Oh, I can't remember the name. Oh, it's gonna come to me.
All right. Hey, you know what? I don't really care. I'm just clarifying for the audience that it's a sherry cask finish. So it's really smooth. I highly recommend it. It's definitely worth $35.
How many bottles did you buy? You bought one bottle?
I bought one because I want to try the other brands. That's why I was asking Jarvis about the color, because there were others. This is like, if you could look at it.
How much do you have left? Oh, you have a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I just bought the bottle today.
John will be right over.
I was gonna say, I just want to make sure when I come over, is there gonna be any left for me?
What am I drinking?
No, I might bring it to the draft to try.
Oh, okay, all right, I like it.
So in something Jarvis was sending, and I don't know if Jarvis, you tried it, that pickle whiskey. Have you tried it?
No, I did not try it.
So they sold a nip. I actually bought a nip the other day just to try it, so we can actually review it. And I'll let you guys know if it was worth it, because I'm not buying a bottle of it because I have no. It's
no way.
It sounds awful.
So, but I did buy a nip.
If I saw a nip, I would have bought it.
Okay, so I will hopefully get a chance. Hopefully, we'll be around you guys, and I'll save it because that way everybody can get a sip of it.
Anything that just is sour, right? Like you talked about your oh no, actually you didn't talk about. You talked about it before the podcast. The smutty nose, sour, whatever the hell you were saying, sour IPA. It just sounds awful. And so when you talk about pickle flavored whiskey, it's just sorry. Yep. I'll pass. I'll pass on anything that tastes sour.
Yeah, I can't get my
like a
mind
whiskey
around
sour. I actually used to drink those when I turned 21. That's the first time I started drinking. I promise. Whiskey sours. Those were. I remember drinking. I was like, "Oh, these aren't bad." I can't imagine having another whiskey sour again in the rest of my life.
That's because you'll be having your heart attacks that you have.
That is true. Probably the heartburn had something to do with it.
Brutal.
All right. Well, let's move on from the delicious whiskey. And before, yes, folks, I know I talked about the mojitos, and my brother-in-law came over. He was very excited to try. I had mojitos during my vacation. I just had one the other day. I'm still in mojito mode. And this is not a take snake or some weird.
It's Slytherin.
Yeah,
Slytherin.
It's just I'm for the podcast. I wanted to give you guys something different. I can't keep talking about mojitos.
I wish I could go back and play the audio from May where he says, "I'm going to be on gin and tonics all summer." With 3 drinks removed from that.
I don't think he got to the official first day of summer.
No.
Stopped.
It was the first podcast. All right, everyone. I'm glad to report I've had my first week of summer, and I'm now on mojitos.
I'm not on mojitos.
You just told everyone you were going to review all the gins all summer. I haven't had one.
I did. That is true.
That's true.
Yeah, that is true. Okay. All right. I need a little bit more time. I have a very short attention span. I'm busted on that one. You're right. I didn't get
I'm still waiting for the second gin.
The snake is struck.
We're almost into August. I'm still waiting.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to not as funny topic, but
nothing to see here.
Yeah, let's just move on. The show that we were excited for, and I was really looking forward to, Loki came out. It was a 6-episode series. The season finale was last week, and I think all 3 of us had a chance to finish the series. And on our text thread, Mr. Roper has been negative towards the series the whole time. He calls it a snooze fest, but we like the last podcast, we don't really take his reviews very seriously because he enjoyed Star Wars: The Last Jedi. And,
instant credibility crusher.
Yeah, so that's a killer. But what did you guys think of now, Jarvis, you didn't get a chance to be on the podcast. Did you like the series before we talk about the finale? Did you like the series?
Overall, yeah, it was all right. I wouldn't say that I was. If I was trying to casually watch it, it would be very hard not hard to follow because nothing happened. Like one episode was one event every single episode. It wasn't like you missed anything, but I found it reflective of the character, right? Like if you watched it, if you were to watch Thor, it would be explosion smashing, like this big brute. Loki doesn't do that. So it didn't have the same theme. It was more, they tried to make it more of like a cerebral Marvel series. And I kind of liked that it was reflective of the character. He's not a big smasher fighter, so there wasn't a lot of big smashing fight scenes. There was a little bit because he does a little bit, but it was more trying to talk and manipulate and sleight of hand type. And so I was kind of into that different flavor, because his character is a different flavor. He's kind of a villain, but he's not 100% villain. So like the whole season ebbed and flowed to where you were like, oh, I get behind this guy, or like, wow, this guy's kind of a dick. And I liked the dynamic that it presented with the Loki character. I didn't like some of the anything that was supposed to be like an unveiling of during the episode. Like I didn't like when they were talking about the variants, and I don't know if I want to spoil a whole lot, but like when they talked about the girl, that was a complete turn off of the episode. I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is where we're going with this.
Okay, so if you don't mind me jumping in here, so I know the Marvel, right? So Kevin Feige, the producer, right? They're always trying to
Did you
produce
call me?
these. Huh? I hope I pronounced his name correctly.
Oh my God, I don't think you did.
Feige, Kevin Feige. Yeah.
Are you saying cherry or sherry?
Sherry. So I know what they're trying to do is sometimes they want to do fan service, right? Because there's the whole comic books history of like decades, right? So a lot of times they bring in these characters. If you're not following, like, if you're not a comic book geek, and I was never really like, I never read comics, right? I don't know. I just read these guys just from articles and just learning this stuff as I go along. But they try to do fan service for the comic book geeks, but they also try to make it creative and new for people who for that same audience, and for people who can understand it a little bit of what's going on if they haven't followed the comics. So I know like the Lady Loki thing was a big like comic book storyline, and they try to follow a little bit of that. So I think as you watch some of these, you could say, that was a stupid idea, but they're trying to follow a little bit of the comics.
But like, did the two Lokis stop making out in the comic book?
That I don't know. That I don't know.
So if they're trying to, like, I liked how they were trying to play up the vanity, like his vanity was so that he would fall in love with himself. But like, then they hit her in a hurricane in Alabama where incest is like allowed. So I was like, all right.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, right?
We're going there, huh? We're going there, huh?
They're supposed to be like the same character, the same person,
they're the same person, just from two different timelines.
But at the end, she kind of dismissed him. Like she broke off from what he was feeling. She didn't hear it.
I don't know.
But that was rushed. Yeah, but
him.
Azar, that was rushed. That was rushed because the very end of it was like you had Kong there on the desk going.
No, not Kong. No,
whatever his name
was. It wasn't King Kong. Was not in Loki.
Kang. So Kang. So he's sitting there going, "Oh, can you trust anyone? And don't you just want my throne and the power?" And it's like, all right.
What did you call him? You call him a. It was like a Shakespearean like type actor that was just. I thought he was over the top. I thought the character was just like
I was
actor
like,
himself playing. It was just
who is this guy? What is he doing? Right. And then like all of a sudden they had this giant like dog cloud that ate everything, but then didn't eat them because they enchanted the dog cloud, and the dog cloud led them to this broken down castle that led the whole timeline. And this guy's sitting in there diddling himself for like an eon. And like, what are we doing here? What is this? This is how we rushed the end of this.
I don't think it was rushed, and the research that I did on it, and I think it was part of the hiring process. He was brought on. He was already hired to play Kang the Conqueror for the Ant-Man movie that's coming out. So he's going to be in that movie. I think it's 2023, whatever it is. But the director that brought him on for the Loki series, they realized that they had to do something different with him because he can't be the same person in the Loki series and then be the same character. So he had to really differentiate himself. And I think that's kind of why we saw him so animated and kind of, I don't want to say flamboyant is the word, but he was just over the top acting, where I think his darker villain side, the darker variant of him, is not going to be like that. It's going to be a creepier, evil, kind of like Thanos, very simple character that you're going to see.
Well, I guess he alluded to that. He was like, you don't want to deal with the bad versions of me or whatever. And
exactly.
So he was actually considered the good version. Like he was like the best version of Kang. that we
Yeah.
experienced.
Yeah. So and he's seen a lot of it, so he knows what's going on. So I think it's just an interesting twist. And again,
But he's
You know,
dead now. She killed him.
she
she
killed that
did.
variant.
Right. In a way, he was almost like playing the hero. Like he was the one keeping the timeline intact
But
so
now
that
she
it
doesn't.
doesn't become
But
chaotic.
she didn't believe any of it, and Loki did.
No, I
So
think
who?
she believed it. I think she didn't care because she was so upset with what he did to her life and took her whole life away, took her family away to right and among like all the other variants that were out there. So she was just more about anger and revenge and just didn't care about any of it and wanted to just kill him and then just move on from there. And where Loki was it was a little bit of a redemption arc. Remember, this is the Loki that after the first Avengers movie, he was the main villain of the first Avengers movie. This is within days of that Avengers movie. He just killed Phil Coulson like days prior to that, right? So there was a little bit of a redemption arc for Loki there. But and like you
Oh,
said,
but
Jarvis
but
earlier,
wasn't this was the Avengers after Ragnarok?
no, before.
This is
No,
before
no, all that was just it was a different Loki
this.
starting from that time
This
point.
Loki has never experienced Ragnarok. He didn't
But he
experience.
references Ragnarok.
He
They
references
reference
it
it.
because he saw the video of the future. He saw the future in that early
You know,
on in the first or second episode.
Yeah, I think it was the second episode. When
Yeah, when he shows Thanos choking him out and all
Yeah.
that
Yes,
stuff.
yeah. Because he sees what ends up happening, and he looks at it and saying, "Oh shit!" Like,
Yeah,
I
and
screwed up.
Ragnarok is a known story, like prophecy that all of them knew. Like Thor knew it before it even happened. Before like the Ragnarok movie came out, Ragnarok was known as something that would happen. So, and they were there to prevent it, supposedly, but it never ended up preventing. It had to happen. It's just an interesting. Again, I always be like me and I have talked about this in the past. When you start getting into timelines and time jumping, and
Ugh.
it does get confusing. But if you don't watch Loki, you're not going to understand the movies. I think you
No,
have to.
from
You
here
have to.
on out, no, you have to watch.
You
it.
said something, Azar, or somebody pointed it out halfway through when he ended up in that void place with all like the cartoon Loki, with all the like Thor Loki and Alligator Loki and Little Boy Loki and like 1960s cartoon Loki and all that. Somebody had said this is a great way to introduce a new Black Panther.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
I
we
thought
talked
that
about
was
on the
it.
pocket.
And I was like, son of a bitch, why didn't they do
Yeah.
that? That would have been like, hey, here he is. And the whole thing would have been worth it because now
Well,
you're going to
yeah.
introduce like the guy who played Apollo Creed in Creed.
Well, this is a way. This is a way to bring back
Something.
Robert Downey Jr. to play Iron Man again. I mean, there's ways to bring back. DC did this pretty extensively in the shows, the TV shows with the Flash. Right, there was the multiverse. They brought it. They had this one character that he would die one season, and then that same actor would come back to play him in the next season because he was from a different timeline. This has been done before in other shows in the DC universe. Now they're
I
just
think
doing
it's
it in the Marvel universe.
I think
Yeah.
it's lazy writing.
No, it's not lazy writing. It's what's part of it's what's based on the comics. I think where the writers or they looked at it and said, look, Thanos is gone. The big the big stars of Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr.
Chris
and
Evans.
Chris Evans playing Captain America, like those are big characters, and now they got to continue on. It's right. You got to look at it as a money making business, right?
Right.
They got to look at who's the next big villain. Kang is a big villain in the comics. He's the guy that controls all the timelines. If you recall back to WandaVision, they call him a Nexus being, right? I know I'm getting comic book geeky here, nerdy.
Yeah.
But a Nexus being is somebody who could travel from timeline to timeline, and Kang is one of those characters.
Yeah.
So
And Doctor Strange is going to have more of an value in this franchise, and but I like again. I think you couldn't create these movies. And I've been telling people this. You can't have the movies start jumping into these multiverses. It's just you don't have enough time in a movie. You got 2 hours, right? Maybe 3 hours for a movie. If you try to explain everything, they're gonna get lost in the weeds. You can't tell the story, and the movie's gonna be a waste. This is if you think about it, the most creative thing I've seen. You got this platform that's able to produce shows so they can lay the groundwork for their future movies. And and I think and I don't want to go into Black Widow, but there is something in Black Widow that ties back to the Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I thought was brilliant. I'm like, all right, this is so cool because now you're going to see things that in a future movie or something where you're going to have WandaVision story tied into it. You're going to have Loki's story tied into it, and they're all going to be meshed in, and it's going to be part of like a big story. And I think when you were first watching the Marvel movies, I don't think people were realizing this was planned. There was a storyboard that had this thing stitched out, and if you look on Disney Plus, they'll actually tell you this was phase 1, this is phase 2. You can actually watch the movies in the proper sequence, in the proper timeline. They actually shuffle it, and it's not necessarily when they came out, it's where they fit in the storyline, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, they did that with Star Wars too.
I should say too, Black Widow was supposed to come out before Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because it was supposed to come out a year and a half ago.
Very
so
true.
What happened in Black Widow, it was more Falcon and the Winter Soldier was supposed to play off of what happened in Black Widow.
Oh, so I wasn't sure if they added that in the end, or was that always there? But that's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
No, I read something on that it was supposed to come out beforehand.
Okay. I don't want to spoil it because that just came out, but there is a nice twist. And I know a lot of people like the Falcon and Winter Soldier, but that was a great way, because the rest of the Falcon and Winter Soldier made no sense to me what the hell it had to do with anything. But that ending of Black Widow, it's nice because it actually
the end credit scene. You're saying,
yeah. So you have to watch it.
Yeah. But I do like what you said too, about you have to look at it based on. Don't look at it. It's like, oh, it was lacking action, like Mr. Roper saying it's a snooze fest. It has to tell the story for the next phase of movies, right? They're in phase 4, right? They ended with Thanos in Endgame in phase 3. This is phase 4 leading up to the next Avengers movie and probably the next trilogy of Avengers movies. They have to build up that story for the next one. They had the time to do that with Iron Man and some of the other early on movies because that was such a huge success and it was new to everybody. Now people are just like, oh no, I just want the action. I just want something crazy to happen. And that's where Marvel is brilliant compared to like DC. DC just throws it out there and says, oh no, we're impatient. We just want to throw it out there. Marvel builds it up. And they're smart in doing that because people are going to watch it. Loki is a great character, right? He's back in the fold, right? He died in Infinity War, and now he's back. He's another character, so it's he remains the same character. So I'm okay with the pace that Loki had. Because I like that it builds up into other future shows and future movies. The Doctor Strange movie ties into what happened in Loki. The next Ant-Man movie will tie into it. In fact, the guy that plays Kang is the main villain in that movie. I'm sure
Spider-Man will tie into
Spider-Man will tie into it. Yeah. So
and Spider-Man's coming out this fall, so it's not that long before we get. So if you want to enjoy Spider-Man, you got to understand this whole multiverse thing. So you're getting into it, and Jarvis touched on something in this whole multiverse thing. What if, and this is just a conspiracy theory, or not conspiracy, but just it would be cool if this played out this way. Black Panther is coming out not next year, but I think the year after. What if Michael B. Jordan actually comes back from a multiverse where, you know how in the story of Black Panthers, the two brothers fought and one brother was exiled? What if that brother actually won and he became the Black Panther and his son became, Michael B. Jordan actually was the son that became Black Panther?
I like it.
And in reverse. So what if, that would be pretty badass if all of a sudden Michael B. Jordan shows up in Wakanda and he's the hero and they're all looking at him thinking he's the villain from Kilgore. Like they're going to think of him in that negative way, but he comes in and has to win them over as the multiverse Black Panther. And I think he would make a great reversal of the story.
It's Killmonger, by the way.
What is
Kilgore,
it?
But
Killmonger. I'm sorry. I know that didn't sound right. I said it and I'm like, that didn't sound right. But anyways, I hate that Killmonger. But he was a good villain.
No, he was. And
I think
he's a well-known
twist.
actor now, right? And he could help carry that franchise forward. That's actually a great point. I commend you on that point there, Reza.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
So
I think Jarvis dropped that little hint onto you. So maybe we give Jarvis a little bit of credit.
Yeah, no, I
God
think
forbid.
Jarvis touched on it. Like I would love to see like an end credit where like he just pops in, like Michael B. Jordan
Yeah,
just
yeah,
pops
yeah.
in, and it's like he's in the Black Panther suit, and everybody's gonna be like, "What the hell?" And then
Well,
that's the kind of how it
Well,
develops.
this is very similar, like what I said a few podcasts ago. I said this opens up the door for to bring other actors to play certain characters, and I agreed with you at the time. I don't want another character to come in and play Captain America or Iron Man, right? Those guys, like that was the actors
Yeah,
that played them. That was them, but they could be a little creative with it, right? They could bring back one of those characters that are actually villains, right? Just for one movie or one series or whatever. They can get so creative with this whole, like, multiple timelines.
yeah,
Like Loki did it, right? They had they had an alligator playing a
yeah.
Loki. I
Jesus,
mean, they
Yeah.
could go
awful.
crazy with it.
And
So
I gotta say, I actually liked the female version of Loki. I think she's a good character. I think she did a good
I liked her
job
too.
playing a
Yeah.
character in that story. She would,
As I agree, she was cool, badass, and kind of like she was tough, and she didn't put up with anyone's shit. And that enchanting thing was pretty sweet. But like the fact that she was Loki and was falling in love with Loki, and they were like
but I don't think she was falling
literally
in love.
giving the timeline a boner. Oh, come on. Didn't you see that skyrocketing Nexus
Yeah.
event that shot up like no other
Sure,
Nexus
maybe that's
event?
a
Come
But they
on.
never explain it. And actually, to kind of go back, just to wrap up the Loki thing too, they never really explained why Kang always wanted the Lokis taken out. Why were they so targeted? And they never really said that. Like he didn't explain to her why I took you from your life. He
I
didn't
was
defend
under
it.
the impression every variant was funged or whatever they called it, pruned.
But the Loki, yeah, but every Loki variant was
uh,
captured and
we need
pruned.
a new dictionary for Jarvis's words
Yeah.
that he comes up with. It's like it's like its own terminology. I love it.
The Jarvis language. But yeah, I think that's why when I saw the Loki season 2, they're gonna have it. I think they can probably dive into it more. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
interesting.
The
Because
only
He can't.
thing,
I mean, when he came back into that whole other and like the statue wasn't the three lizards, it was
yeah, you got stuck in
that.
another timeline. You
Yeah.
went
Oh,
back to
I was
another
like, God,
timeline.
I can't freaking
No,
track
no,
what
I love
happens
that.
here.
Well, it could be confusing. Like Azar said, when you deal with time travel and stuff, it could get crazy.
They
But
could redo the entire first season like they didn't know him, and it would literally be season 2 because they just had a little revert in the timeline. And oh God,
you know what I
so
didn't like about the season was the fact that the Infinity Stones, lost
we're
all of their
meaningless.
powers
Yeah.
and they were meaningless. And it was like
we're paperweights.
it kind of killed the whole first three phases, like leading up. Like they're like the most powerful, like, stones that ever, and they
And they're in a
controlled
desk drawer in the
everything.
TVA.
Yeah, yeah, but you know what though? In a way, it kind of explained how powerful the King is. That
But you
kind of
gotta also
shows you how
remember,
powerful he is.
there was a collection of them, right? So they were stealing them from multiple universes
They
and
were.
bringing them back, and their powers are negated there. So they're saying they aren't powerful, but it's almost like they know once you take them out of that universe,
Sure.
they're
Yeah.
negated. And so I'm thinking they were collecting them. That's gonna have to come back. Like, why were you collecting the Infinity Stones? Like, who was looking for them, and why were you making them paperweights? So someone was chasing them down. So maybe that was part of the timeline management. Like, we got to, these things are too disruptive.
Yeah.
Because
My,
him snapping the finger changes things. You take people out of the universe, it changes timelines. It takes.
yeah.
So they were a threat. Anyways, that's just me getting into
Well,
the dork side
and
of
this
it.
and this goes back to the end of Endgame when Captain America went back and ended up with Agent Carter.
Yep.
Right? Is that a different timeline that started? And like, there's a lot of like more backstory that has to come into play with all the different timelines that happens. There's rumor that uh, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are going to play in the next Spider-Man movie. Are they going to tie in those Marvel movies with this Spider-Man? This is a great way to introduce X-Men. It's just there's so much that it's starting to make a little bit more sense as how they're going to go about this. The only thing I don't like what Marvel does, and my last point on this is, and Marvel hasn't really done this too often, but a couple of movies I felt like that I don't like that they focus too much on future movies and not in the story itself of that movie. I felt like they did that with like Age of Ultron. They kind of build up little stories for upcoming shows or movies,
Yeah.
and they didn't focus too much on the story itself of that particular movie. And that's where it can get a little distracting sometimes. I think they just got to be careful with that. You got
Yeah.
to be careful with that when they make any future movies.
Yeah. Well, and again, you're at the mercy of who they get to write that story, and it's not always the same people writing all these movies, and it's not the same people directing
Yeah.
every one of these movies. Like you have their, and I don't even know if Favreau's even involved. It just sounds. I think it's like that guy Feige. He's kind of
Yeah,
the
he's the
brains behind.
executive producer for
Yeah,
Marvel.
so
Yeah,
I
he has
think
the final say of everything.
yeah, so I think we're kind of I think he's trying to keep everything together, but you got all these directors and stuff. So what are you gonna do? So keeping on the Marvel theme. And I was just kidding about diving into Jungle Cruise. Jarvis got up and left, but we're not going to talk about the Jungle Cruise. God forbid.
When he
But
comes back, he's gonna say, "Hey, what about the Jungle Cruise?"
yeah,
And we
we're
say,
gonna,
"No,
skip right that.
that's when we cut him off."
But for the sake of time, I really, because this is new and we're not going to do much for the spoilers, but Black Widow came out and
Mhm.
I watched it. I didn't get to go to the movies. I actually ordered it on Disney Plus, their
Yeah.
premiere access. I watched it at home, and I got to say, it was probably the best action movie dropped by theater. Like, not, I'm trying to compare it. Like, Amazon drops movies and these platforms drop movies, but
Mm.
I'm talking about Disney and HBO Max that are making real movies that they're putting on their platforms.
Yeah, like
I think,
exclusive movies that they're
yeah,
putting on
I
there.
think
Yeah.
Black Widow is so far the best movie that has dropped.
Yeah,
in
well, I mean, that was
2021.
originally a theater movie. That wasn't meant to be any streaming movie. But
Exactly.
yeah,
That's what I'm trying to compare it to movies
yeah.
that are supposed to have dropped in theaters, but they decided let's do it both. You can get it in the movie or premiere access. Best hands down. I think the story was well done. I mentioned it before. I like the character of Black Widow. I think she was really well done in all the other movies, and it was nice to see her get her own little story. I was surprised it wasn't.
She's very well done.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. In many ways, yes, I agree with that. But it wasn't an origin story. It wasn't like a time let's go
No.
back story. I was surprised by that. It was actually in a snapshot of time after Civil War when she was on the run. And it's like, let's fill in the time what she was doing during that
Yeah.
time when she was a fugitive, which took me by surprise. And they did a
Yeah.
good job tying it in.
Yeah, I did. I love the movie. I did like it. I wasn't a big fan of the timing of when they released it. I know COVID delayed it a year and a half, but even if it came out a year and a half ago, why wait? Like, why wait now to release it? Even a year and a half ago, I wish it was a movie that came out, after Infinity War, right? Like between Infinity War and Endgame, like that would have been a great timing to release it. What has Black Widow been up to these last couple of years or whatever? But this movie came out, and we know what happened with her after Infinity War. Then there was the 5-year time jump or whatever, right? And then it was Endgame, and then it was like what happened, and I feel like it just too late. It was too late. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Well, because it was such an independent story. But you got to remember, Big Me, from a business point of view, I think if they try to release it during the original timeline, Disney Plus's platform, I don't think they had the numbers. I think they wanted, like right now, the Disney platform has really grown, and the number of subscribers have grown.
But I'm saying this is before Disney Plus.
No,
even came
I
out.
know, but COVID hit, right? And they could have released it 6 months
No,
ago.
I know they were stuck, right? They were.
So I think once once Mandalorian came out and that became like the big buzz, and I think subscribers picked up and they were like, all right, we can get some good money from $30 per subscriber who does the premiere access.
Yeah.
The economy it has opened up. The theaters have opened up. They want their money. I can't imagine the cast they had in there. It must have been an expensive movie to make. It had to be over $100 million.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was. But that's what I'm saying is, even if it released last May in 2020 when they were supposed to release it, it's still too late. Is what I'm saying. It's like it's still too late now. Like now that it's a year and a half later, it hurt them a little bit. I think. You know what I mean? So I think even a year and a half when it was supposed to come out, I don't like the fact that it came out after Endgame, after she dies. You know what I mean? And then they go back to this one little story that she had. I don't know.
What if she comes back from the multiverse?
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, if that's the case, maybe that's.
Who was telling me this? I think it was my brother. I'll give my brother credit. I think it was him that said when they went back and returned the stones, is it possible they returned the stone and exchanged a soul for a soul and brought her back to life?
Sure.
Is
Yeah.
that possible?
I think this is where Marvel could get a little bit, because they've done this so many times before. They kill off a character, they bring the character back. And I know that's how the comics works, but in the movies, they got to be careful with that, because next time a character dies, fans are going to look at it and say, like, did he really die? They can always
Yeah.
bring him back. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like the emotional part of it has to still be there. And if they bring her back, great. I'll be happy. I'll be like, great. I like her. I like her. I like her as Black Widow, and it'd be great. But next time she dies, are we all going to look at it and say, oh, that was a great moment, or are we going to just say,
Yeah,
she'll be back?
I have a feeling like these actors are walking away. Like, I don't see her coming back. Maybe for like a quick cameo or something, like in a scene, but I don't see her being a big part of the franchise. I think she's moving forward. The only thing I got to say, because I like the sister, that she did a great job playing another Black Widow. I mean, she's not.
She's the
we know.
future. She's the future, like, that's going to play the Black Widow character.
Yeah, I wasn't sold on what's her name, Rachel Weisz.
Yeah, Weiss. Yeah.
She was the original.
She played the Mummy.
Yeah, no, I know who she is. I like her, but she was okay. Like, I wasn't thrilled with her character, and I wasn't thrilled with what's his name, the
the Hopper guy, Red Guardian.
Guardian. He was okay. He's like
overacting.
Yeah, a little bit
over the top. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
thought
I didn't
she
understand
was
his powers. Like, he was 1 minute like he's like, breaking arm wrestling with people. He can smash things and lift things, and then sometimes he seems kind of like docile.
Really? I thought he was. No, I thought he was. Except when he was going up against the villain there, the Taskmaster or whatever.
Was she like enhanced? I didn't understand her powers. Was she enhanced, or was she just
guys talking about?
I think so. The Taskmaster. Yeah, Jarvis, you don't know who the Taskmaster is?
This is like a 1980s WWF villain.
My Alexa just went off for some reason.
Yeah. So, anyways, the story was good, but what was I going to say? So, I have a theory. So, after watching Black Widow, it was basically a strong female cast. Like, it was basically a female storyline. And I was thinking, geez, when Captain Marvel came out and Wonder Woman 2, there was a push from the actors, the directors, all trying to make this case that this movie is about women empowerment and, all this. And I didn't hear any of that about Black Widow. And it got me thinking, I wonder if the people that do that for like Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman 2, did they do that because they knew the story sucked? They knew that they didn't do a good job writing and making these characters likable.
They should have done that for Wonder Woman.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like when you watch Black Widow, you don't even think about it. They're all badass characters. I thought it was so cool when they opened the door and all the other Black Widows started coming out. I was like, like it almost had like that Wakanda scene where like all of the gods are all women. They're like these powerful women. And I was like, this is pretty cool. But you never think about it like the way they try to pitch it, like, oh, you can't criticize these movies because it's about women. And I'm thinking, no. If you do a good movie, that actress comes off as a badass. She's a likable character. Like, people wouldn't want to watch her. The way they made Wonder Woman in the story, the writing was so bad. It's almost like a way to kind of prevent you from criticizing their shitty movie. It's like, well, we were trying to be like this, like above the fold kind of movie, like trying to be enlightened. And it's like, no, your movie sucked. It sucked, and you did a terrible directing it, and you made your characters unlikable, and you're trying to make it spin it that, oh, if you don't like it, you just don't like women movies. And it's bullshit.
Are we talking about Kyrie Irving? Sounds like we're talking about Kyrie.
Yeah, well,
Irving.
It's like little like Kyrie Irving.
I'm a little disappointed in Azar's pronunciation of sucked. He doesn't. I need a little bit more sucked. He sucked.
Anyways, Wonder Woman 2 sucked.
There you go. That's what I want to hear.
And Captain Marvel was not a likable character. The movie wasn't that great. And I watched Black Widow, and I'm like, that is because you have good writing, you have a good character development, so much of a better story. So they can take all that crap that they were selling on why these movies were supposed to be great and shove it because they were full of shit. They knew it. And they should probably follow the example of Captain Marvel. Follow the example of Black Widow And that's how you make a strong woman movie. Don't give me this bullshit, because that crap that Wonder Woman 2 came out with, that director should be fired. Like, I will not pay money out of my pocket to watch a Wonder Woman 3 movie. Like, I'll wait for it to hit DVD or something. There's no freaking way I'm wasting my money for some bullshit like that again. It's like another Star Wars movie. If a Star Wars movie came out right now, I'm not running to the theater.
I bet you Mr. Roper loved Wonder Woman 1984.
He probably did. You know what? I noticed he was oddly silent about that movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Sorry, I had to go on a rant.
I 100% agree with you there, and yeah, Black Widow was good, and I never felt like the whole like female empowerment. I didn't really feel that, and it was great. It was just a great all around movie, and it represented the female characters very strongly.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you talk about: good writing. Write a good story, people will love the character. Yeah. You write a shit story, you rush it, you're gonna get what you're gonna get. It's not. There's no other excuse for it. It's not deeper or any type of sexism thing. It was a shitty movie. Deal with it. Like,
you said, the action was the best that you've seen on a streaming service. I thought the Extraction movie with Chris Hemsworth was right up there.
I thought
that was like
a more complete story. I thought Extraction was a great action movie. Even Tomorrow's War was a good action movie.
Which I watched. Yeah, it was good.
So it was good.
The story was a little cheesy. It was a little. There were some scenes where I was like, "Come on."
Yeah. So it wasn't the most complete story. I thought Black Widow was complete. I watched it from beginning to end, and I was hooked into the movie.
Solid.
Yep. And I gotta say, it's interesting because, was it Jarvis that said this? I think the second best movie that I streamed that I actually paid for. I actually thought the Cruella movie was probably the second most complete movie that I've watched that I thought was really well done.
I thought Cruella was legit.
Yeah, and I
still have to watch that.
Oh, really?
I still haven't watched it. No, I paid for Black Widow. I paid the premium service. I didn't pay
You won't be disappointed. Emma Stone did a really good job in the story, and it's not what you think it's going to be. Like, I was kind of nervous, like it's going to be like based off the more of the cartoon. I'm like, what is this? Like, we're gonna watch the cartoon in like real live, like the Beauty and the Beast movie.
Right.
It's like a prequel, and they did a great job. And it's not what you think. It's darker for Disney. So
yeah, I gotta say, dark. And man, the soundtrack was epic.
Yeah,
I know you love soundtrack. You're into the soundtrack. I am too. I love. I gotta
tell you,
the music makes a movie.
It can make or break a movie. Like a soundtrack, if a movie has a good soundtrack, you almost don't notice it, but you're engaged in the movie. But if a movie has a bad soundtrack, you have a hard time getting into the scenes. I felt every scene in Cruella had the right song, starting at the right point of the song, starting at the right time in the scene. It was whoever was, I don't know what's that, is that cinematography? Like, I don't know who mixes that. But whoever did that for Cruella just had it going on. Like they were in the zone. And
sound editing
or something. It was like whoever picks the songs, picks what part of the song cues up and when. Phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I've gone to the point where it's been out for a little while, and I'm like, gee, do I wait another week before it becomes?
At this point, you might as well wait. It is going to drop. I don't know how long they hold it, but
unless, of course, you let me borrow your Disney account, and then I can watch it for free.
You know what? How about I just have you come over to my house and watch it at my house? And you can have whiskey and watch Cruella.
Oh, there you go. Oh, okay. So Azar doesn't want, because this is a recorded podcast. He doesn't want to get into trouble by Disney. He doesn't want Disney executives knocking on his door, feeling like, "Hey,
look at I know you're wheeling and dealing to save a few bucks here, buddy, but maybe one less bottle of booze and spend it for the family there."
That is true. That is true. Yes.
All right. Anyways, so 2 Marvel movies killed it this year so far. Tomorrow's War is probably in my top 5 that's come out so far. I think I thought it was a well done movie.
I thought action wise, it was good. I liked it. It was intense. It was intense. Yeah. But I thought it was just some parts of it were like, I thought it was a little over the top, cheesy, and just.
But I think that's Chris Pratt's kind of movie, like that. I think that's him. Like I feel like that's his like.
Yeah.
I don't know. He has like this certain character that he kind of carries over movie to movie. Like he just plays those roles over and over again. Anyway.
By the way, you guys got to watch Sweet Tooth I finished the season. It was actually pretty good. I'm
The
telling
hell
you.
is Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth was actually a good story. It was a good story. I'm telling you. And it wasn't like too kidsy. Like you guys got to watch it. I highly recommend it.
All
Is that
right.
like
And
killer
they
clowns
built it
from
up.
outer space?
And there's a cliffhanger at the end that leads into like a second season as well. So
All right. He's sold.
I
He's
think
sold.
you
on.
guys would like it.
And The Witcher is coming out soon, just to let you guys know.
Oh, God.
Oh, and I do gotta say, F9. I did watch F9 just real quick. I know we don't want to get too much into it. It wasn't the one of the better Fast and Furious movies, but it was still. I mean, it was just out of it. It was insane, right? Some of the action where you watch it, you're like, you can't watch it for the believability of it. It's just completely
All right.
out there.
Better
But I
than
gotta
Hobbs and
say,
Shaw? Where is it ranked? But where Hobbs and Shaw fits in? I know it's not part of the Furious.
no, it is part of the. It is
Well,
part
it
of
is,
the
but it is.
universe, right? Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's not. I think it was very similar. It was very similar. Maybe I don't know. That's a good question. I think it was pretty equal. But I don't think John Cena was that bad as an
I
actor.
was just gonna ask.
I'm
how
telling
bad.
you, it was. He was. You know why? Because you know why he wasn't that bad? Because there wasn't a lot of charisma coming from him. It was just very like he was just mean. He was just very like you said.
Low
If you're a bad
dialogue.
actor, he had a very little dialogue, but he didn't have like the goofy facial expressions like he does in some of his other movies, like in comedies that he's been in. I thought he was good. When you're low key like that, that's what you got to go for. Like
Okay.
he doesn't have that personality to like jump out and be believable, right? Because then you're overacting. You just look stupid.
Yeah.
And he was actually pretty good.
Okay.
He made a believable character in who he played in the movie. And I don't want to
Okay.
give up that spoiler.
He's not gonna ruin for me wanting to watch it because I'm actually curious to watch it. I've actually for years never really watched the franchise, and then I started getting into it, and I do. They're fun movies. They're not like they're just fast cars, women, action. They're that perfect, just mindless. Just sit, just enjoy it. It's not believable, but enjoy it. So
the one negative about it is that they've built up so many characters to that universe that they keep introducing them into like the next movie that comes out, even for like a small scene, and you almost get to the point where it's like, ugh, like I don't care about this character anymore. Like all right, like we're supposed to be excited because they introduced this character that they introduced like the 2 movies ago, and it's like you don't really care about it. It's gotten to a point where there's too many characters where it's been convoluted.
not
However,
enough death. You gotta kill.
I
more
do got to
characters.
say, and Jarvis is going to appreciate what I'm about to say here. It needs The Rock. It needs The Rock back. The Rock was not in this one. They need The Rock back in the franchise here. Him and Vin Diesel need to get along. They need to get over their little beef that they're having and start getting along. And they get The Rock back into the Fast and Furious movies.
There's a
There you
beef
go.
between the two. Oh, that's
There's
interesting.
a little real life beef, like they don't like each
little
other. They don't like
Brooks
working
Koepka,
together.
Bryson DeChambeau action.
Yeah. That's why he has it. That's why he went on his own like spin off with Hobbs and Shaw, and so yeah.
God, so
You got to bring back The Rock. Yeah. So Jarvis is all excited.
Vin Diesel,
I
another overactor. Like, family. It's all about family. It's all
Yeah.
family. All right.
You
So
can
let's-
have any drink as long as it's a Corona.
Hey, speaking of bad actors, Vin
Yeah.
Diesel.
I actually was watching it. It was on TV the other night, and it was the scene where The Rock first comes into the. He's like the what the hell? He's the special forces guy that tracks him down, and they come out and they're just sitting near all the cars, like all of a sudden they're hanging out, and Rock has these guns pointed at him, and Vin Diesel goes, "You forget, we're in Brazil." You know?
I was gonna say, this is Brazil. I mean, yeah. It
I
was
was
so.
I was like, how
was
cheesy.
awful.
So what do you do? Round up all these people, make sure they all had guns. I was like, it's like, okay, it's just so bad, so bad. But anyways, again, it's just a fun movie.
Yeah.
All right, you know what's not fun is listening to Jarvis complain that fantasy magazines are a waste of money.
Oh yeah, that's right. We haven't. I forgot all about this topic.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
this is
my
this is gonna-
favorite
wait,
part of the segment.
This is
This
going to
my
be a
favorite
two against
segment right
two
here.
against one battle, and
Yeah.
I'm going to take you both
I
down.
can't believe he listened to our podcast when he was not on it, which was a shame. I wish he was on for the original conversation about this. But we like the excitement of going to a stand and finding the perfect magazine for the upcoming season, because there's so many. And then when you find the right one, you hunker down, you start reading, you can highlight, jot notes, you can do all of that. And I know sometimes they get a little dated, but that's okay. That's what the web is for. You can kind of, if you're paying attention, there's nothing really seriously missed. But Jarvis poo-poos that. And he's like, no, that's stupid. Just do it on your phone. And sitting and looking at my phone doesn't have the same effect when I'm sitting and relaxing. Either by
you sound like one Boston radio host that I get accused of being a wannabe of. If I could listen to Felger talk about, I want to open the Herald, I need to read it in the paper. If I don't have my glasses out and I don't need to highlight it with my pen and I need to see it and hold it, otherwise it's not real. I can't believe the Felger take that I'm listening to.
It's not a Felger take.
It's a 100% Felger take.
Wait a minute.
You're sitting there the same way he sits there pontificating about how if it's not up, I need to have it in my hand. I need to sit on the toilet. I need to read. I want to be on the beach flipping through
what's wrong with
magazine
that?
Like it's the fucking Inquirer.
But what's wrong with that? If that's what you want to do and that's what you enjoy doing, what's wrong with that? I'm going to defend my co-host here.
It's not that's what you're doing. It's that you're saying you need a magazine that A, is printed in June, distributed in July, and outdated before the end of the month, that you're basing all of this nonsense on. You're reading these articles. Okay, I'll give you the beach thing because the screen does not have not good readability when the sun's reflecting on it. Yes. If you want to sit on the beach and read a fantasy football magazine, knock yourself out. If you're telling me that you start your fantasy football research season by buying a magazine, it's more symbolic than it is relevant.
But you're right. But that small purchase gets me more excited. Like I know
exactly.
I'm not arguing with that. That's not where this argument went.
No.
The argument
it kickstarts your research into the fantasy season.
Yeah, it gets you excited. Just smelling the magazine. You're like,
is symbolic. Symbolic, like getting the newspaper delivered to your house. You know everything that's happening in the world because your phone alerted you to it.
It could be symbolic. It's a little symbolic. It's a little that nostalgic of like.
No. If you are willing to own it, I will digress. Part of my take.
But I still think. But the bigger point is, I still like the magazine better than doing it on the phone. I feel
you
like
then you phone, don't know how to use the phone.
Wait a minute though. But I don't think. Wait a minute. We're not saying. Just to make sure that you don't misunderstand where we're coming from, we're not saying that the magazine brings any competitive advantage. Like we're not saying like, oh, we recommend you get a magazine and start reading or whatever. It's just more of a preference for us to get the magazine and read it because it is symbolic. It is nice to just be able to flip through the pages. You get your little phone out there. You can even do it on your computer, your iPad, or whatever the hell you're using. But
it sounds like you're take snaking a little bit, right?
No, it's not taking. You know what, Jarvis? And I want
sounds like he's take snaking.
Get yourself a magazine. And here's the difference.
I used to. It's a waste of time. I get it. I flip through it. Here's why.
Okay, let me just finish. You're married now with kids, right? Let me tell you, and I'm going to give out a Big Meat secret because his wife doesn't listen, so it doesn't matter. When Big Meat doesn't want to be bothered, he'll just sit his ass down. And when his wife sees him with the magazine open, she knows he's useless. He's in the fantasy zone because and I got to say, my wife does the same thing. She knows when I'm sitting and I'm reading, that's it. I'm in the zone. I'm in fantasy zone. If you're just playing on your phone, your wife doesn't know if you're looking up porn, reading stock quotes, or reading
other things.
So it's part of the experience. When you're sitting there, my kids walk by and they say, "Oh, He's in fantasy zone."
Okay.
Your kid's going to walk by you. He's going to say, "Daddy, come play with me." If he sees you on your phone, you're going to have to put the phone down. If he sees you with a magazine, he will know Daddy's in his zone.
And see, this is what, like, you're using this trick to win your argument, but it's
not a trick. It is
a trick. Here's what happened. The original conversation was you prefer to start with a magazine to prepare for your fantasy draft. I'm telling you.
Which is true.
I'm telling you. You can get your magazine to hide from your wife, fine. To sit on the beach and entertain yourself, fine. You can get a magazine because it is more obvious that is a sign to be left alone to your family.
It does help on the beach when you're sitting there. You just want to sit and you have the
on the
magazine in
beach
front of you,
because you
and
can't
they're
scroll.
asking
You
you
don't
like,
have
"Hey, let's go in the water," and you're like,
If you stop the sentence
Magazine.
there
Yeah.
to prepare you for the draft, you have exponentially more resources customizable at hand, because now, John, and I'm going to take your point, you pick up a magazine, you look at their cheat sheet and you go top 10, I don't agree with that, I'm putting it down. You pick up another one, you flip through it, you're like, I don't agree with that, put one down. You can go on any website that does this and just go, all right, I like what they're saying about this guy. I'm going to slide him up on my list. And then by the end of draft day, you have a customized list that is catered to your top 10.
So here's the caveat to that. And I don't think Azar does this, but I do it. I got the highlighter.
Okay, but
I'm
you can't
highlighting certain notes.
highlight the page if it's glossy.
You can't. No, you can't. I get the expensive highlighters. I get the good highlighters.
So now you're spending more money.
Yes. Hey, it's all about. It's
stealing.
not about
stealing from work. He steals the good highlighters from work.
No, I've yet to step foot in the office of my work, so I can't steal any highlighters.
No, that's true. But
I use the old style highlighters that I used to steal from work. The highlighters that were left over.
FLIR Technologies, infrared highlighters.
Yeah, I think you do forget that, because maybe you haven't bought a magazine in a while, but there are sometimes articles in fantasy magazines that are pretty good, that go into in-depth offensive line discussions.
Offensive schemes, like the new coaches that were hired.
Yeah, there is. And I know what you're saying, but sometimes it's nice having it all prepared for you. And yeah, you're right. The cheat sheets get outdated. The rankings
and you can
get
Google
outdated.
all of that.
But that's fun.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just nice to read an article instead of fishing. You're right. Like, I can go into the Yahoo app. There's tons of articles, and and I get that. I read it, but there's also the feeling of just being able to sit in bed and reading it. It's just it's the same stuff. It's just some guy that they hired to write in this magazine, and a lot of the points are very similar. The only thing that ever changes, I listen to fantasy podcasts on the road. The only thing that ever changes in these discussions in the next 3 months is where they go in the draft. The rankings change. Oh, he got hurt during training camp. Well, that changes this. Well, that changes that. Other than that, a lot of this stuff is kind of set, unless there's a big trade or acquisition that occurs. But nothing. What you're saying is, oh, you're going to get the most up to date. Yeah, but there's how much is really changing. It's not
other than injuries
exactly.
and like training camp battles.
But that's significant. Like you say it in such a minimalist fashion.
But it's all part.
Significant.
But
we're not. Yeah, we're not saying that just get the magazine and you're good to go.
Yeah, if you just buy a magazine,
you're small
an
part
idiot.
of it.
Yeah.
But I think that's
like a couple of guys
changing your focus.
They just show up in the magazine and they're like, "This is all the research that I've done." And we're like, "Yeah, good luck."
Good luck. Yeah. I'm so glad I'm drafting next to you.
If you listen back to your take to start, I was fired up because it was magazine versus digital. And
no, that's not what we were saying.
No.
You did not make any of these points in the last.
No. You were the one poo-pooing the whole idea of getting a magazine. We're just saying, get the magazine for the enjoyment
for fantasy football purposes. You're now talking about a bigger you're talking about its impact on your life. Oh, no.
It's all fantasy. You're wrong. It's all fantasy.
It's inside the bubble. Okay, look at inside the fantasy bubble. We're having this discussion, and I think
he's talking
outside
like
of the bubble.
Now he's
outside of your bubble, where you're trying to protect the fantasy world. Then I get the concept.
We just said it's part of the experience, and I think the magazine
part of the
makes
experience.
It.
That's a good way to say it.
You're fixated on its value.
Get a magazine, read through it for the better part of July, maybe early August. And
I have an app,
and then it's
done.
have
a free app that I use that gives me faster alerts.
Well, you sit there with your phone with your magnifying glass, reading through all the little notes that you see on there. And Azar and I will have our big printed out sheets that we have on our magazine.
And your milk of magnesia with your big spectacles.
If there's a summer thunderstorm and your internet goes out, we'll see how good you are when you have
cellular
in Middle Earth where there's no Wi-Fi. And I'm telling you, I bet you if your wife would be more understanding, I bet you. I'm telling you, most wives when they see your husband relaxing and reading, they're more sympathetic. They're like, you know what? He's relaxing. He's enjoying his magazine. You know what? I'll go do something else. I'll do it myself. I don't need to bother him. I'm telling you, I bet you your wife would be just as supportive as our wives when they see us reading. They're like, he's in the zone. He's he's by the pool or he's on the beach. I'll leave him alone.
But if you're on your phone,
put your phone down. Come help me.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, there's something psychological about it.
That's true. I can't argue that part.
Yeah. Your wife knows you're a hardworking guy. And I'm sure she's supportive. And I'm telling you, but if you're goofing off on your phone, within a reason, but I'm telling you, I bet you when she's watching you, she's probably got a teary eyeball. She's like, is he on porn? Why is he grinning? Is he grinning? What's on Twitter? What is he looking at?
When you're looking at a fantasy football magazine and you're grinning, then she knows, like,
exactly.
Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers on the page.
Yeah. She won't know that your erection on your phone is actually Rodgers on the phone. But that's the disturbing thing. She doesn't know yet that how turned on you are by Rodgers, which is creepy, but
it's all right.
I think she knows.
Yeah.
She got me his autograph one year for Christmas. That's all.
See, there's a loving, understanding.
That's it. She would understand. If I would need the magazine to have Aaron Rodgers on the cover.
Well, those days are long gone. He's not going to be on the cover for it.
He's the reigning MVP. What do you mean?
Good luck finding him on the cover, though. Have you seen a single cover with him on it?
I actually haven't looked at a magazine in 6 years, so no.
That's why you haven't won in 5 or 6 years.
That's not true. Why don't you recant that statement? That is not true. 100% false.
That was a take snake. That was a
snake. All right.
That tasted terrible coming out of your mouth, right? You were like, oh, this isn't going to end well. I thought I
said, shit, I screwed up.
I'm pretty sure I am the most recent champion on this podcast.
All right. And I just, on the closing thought on it, you can be like Mr. Roper. You can fill your freaking binder. Can you imagine what his wife?
Okay, wait a second. I have to ask you this.
Yeah.
Why do I then get associated with the binder?
Well, you're printing stuff off, aren't you?
Thank you for taking the bait. It is your brothers. It is the COVID boy, Antifa boy, R3, and Shady, who all text the group and say, can somebody print me out a top 100?
They do.
None of them go so far as to read download an app, buy a magazine or anything. They go, I'll just draft the top 100. Somebody bring me a printout. So I say, fine.
I think a little bit of that is bullshit too, by the way. I don't buy it. I don't buy a lot. They're like, oh, I didn't do any research. Yeah, bullshit. Because when I ask you about certain players who's the handcuff to certain running backs, they'll be quick to tell you who it is, and it's like, oh, I thought you didn't do any research.
Not all of them, but some of them are quick to respond.
Some of them, yeah.
But but Jarvis, that's fair. But look at the company you're keeping. Look at the success these people have. Like
that's 6 out of the 10 people in our league, if not 7.
Yeah,
6.
Right.
It's us 3, Mr. Roper.
Well, anyways, look at you can be
and the animal.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far with the animal. He hasn't won a championship since before I won a championship.
He brings stuff.
Does he? He gets he's the combine boy you're talking about.
Yeah, combine boy. Combine boy. Yeah, I forgot what his name was.
Yeah. He gives you the 40-yard dash times, and that's what he gives.
He gets the wrong magazine, is what it is. He gets the NCAA version. So. But to the point, I get the opportunity now to go into, I do actually bring a binder that has them all 3-hole punched, right? Because I don't know, whatever. So I have a binder. I put all of these copies I go on and find the most, like the list that has Joe Mixon top 5. I am printing out in droves, dishing them out like I'm going to make it rain at the club. And just because just that slight chance, any draft list that has a guy that I like, way suppressed, I'm all over it. And or if they have a list that has guys that I don't like ranked real high, I'm dishing those suckers out like candy because just for the chance that it influences a draft pick where after you get by the third round, most of those guys are like, oh, it's a flyer at this point anyway.
Oh,
And so you
I'm
take
with
a
you
guy
there.
that you have a target on and he's really suppressed on a list, I'm passing that list out all day long.
I love it. No,
So he passes that list out like sun-kissed oranges up here in Massachusetts.
No, down in Florida.
Oh, down in Florida.
Well, those. So I would say too, like those
Hotcakes.
are like there's some play like even the magazine that I just purchased a few weeks ago. I'm looking at some of these players that I'm like, holy shit, these guys, they're ranking these players so high based off of what? And it's just all like kind of like nonsense to me. And I said, you know what? That's great. I said, let other people, hopefully other people in our league get that same magazine. Let them draft those guys high. I'd love it. I'd be
again. That's where I draw my argument. Nobody's getting the magazine to draft.
I think everybody gets. I think most people get a magazine.
You know what?
Not to draft. Not to draft.
I'll say it. I have more respect for when people show up. They sit down at the draft table. There's their magazine. There's a computer or an iPad. And they got their pens ready to go.
All right, I bring my computer. I'm a computer guy.
My point is, it's the guys that have the magazine. And you start looking around who got what magazine, so you can figure There's so much more fun associated with it.
Azar's already seen my magazine.
I
already know he's got the inside
have a picture of it on my phone.
So I got to get another magazine and go by what they're saying.
The only person. A decoy magazine. Big Meat left a decoy magazine for me.
I did. Yeah.
He's like, it just happened to be on the couch, just laying there.
It's got a picture of Emmitt Smith on the cover. It says 1992 on it. I'm like, yeah, it's the magazine I'm going with.
Why is Colin Kaepernick on the cover? All right. Okay, let's go. Let's do a little true fantasy talk. I sent this to you guys about a couple weeks ago to kind of prep for it. So this rookie, not this rookie draft, but there was a bunch of rookies last year that are entering their second year that are going to have pretty dominant starting roles for their teams coming up. And I wanted to go through it because some of these names are kind of high ranked. And I just wanted to get your thoughts is which one of them, if you had a chance to draft out of the 6 second-year drafts that are going to be starting, second-year running backs that you could draft, which one would it be? Where do you think you see them going in the draft? So I'll give you guys the 6 names so the people listening can know who we're talking about. So Antonio Gibson, Edward Helaire, Taylor, Robinson, J.K. Dobbins, and Akers are all presumed to be starters for this upcoming season, and this is all their second year. Out of the 6, and we can start with Big Meat, which one of those 6 do you find the most attractive out of the 6? And where do you think, the one that you find, where do you see him going? How early do you think these guys are going?
For the one guy that I have in mind as being like the most successful one. So it's a good group of 6 guys, but I'm gonna lean more towards Dobbins, my boy Dobbins from Baltimore. Yeah, because he was the guy in the preseason last year, or the training camp. They didn't have a preseason. That he was all the hype. He was tearing it up in training camp. Everyone loved him. And for whatever reason, they didn't give him the ball as much. There was a couple other guys there that they gave the ball to. I think Ingram was still there.
Yep.
And so he just didn't get enough carries, right? Now Ingram is gone. Dobbins is the guy moving forward. Baltimore has always been a run-first team. I know Lamar Jackson plays a big part of that as well, but they drafted him, I think, in the first round, mid-first round, somewhere around there. And they and I think they loved him since last year. They wanted to give him 1 year under his belt, and so now they're moving on for the second year. They're going to move on. They're going to move forward with that guy as being the number 1 running back on the team. And like I said, Baltimore's defense is always solid. They always produce good running backs or solid running games. The only thing that's going to hurt him is Lamar Jackson getting close to the end zone, and he's going to vulture some of those touchdowns. But
okay, I was just going to ask you, does that not concern you? Like that would limit them?
It does, but you know what? Still,
and what about their tight end? They have a big tight end.
Yeah, Andrews is a little bit
Mark
injury
Andrews?
prone, and I wouldn't even say he's right now going into next season. I wouldn't even consider him a top 5 tight end. I mean,
Really?
he's a good tight end. No, because there's a lot of other tight ends that have stepped up over the last couple of years that have
Okay.
kind of surpassed him. He doesn't get a lot of targets. They're a run first offense. They're just, he's good around the end zone. So yeah, he's going to also get those touchdowns. But of the group, none of them are going to give you 15 touchdowns. They're not like these touchdown machines. I'm just looking at overall yardage, how much usage they're going to use him, like total maybe 10 to 12 touchdowns, somewhere along those lines. That's
So
where I
do you?
like Dobbins.
So how many touchdowns do you actually project for him?
Between 10 and 12, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about his passing opportunities? Does he have upside as a passing back?
A little bit, not so much, because I forget the guy's name who they had last year that they were throwing the ball to as well. But I think he's decent. He's not CEH. He's not going to catch a lot of passes. But our league in particular, we don't get point. We're not a PPR league. So
Okay.
for me, I'm just looking at total yardage, touchdowns. It's a touchdown league. It's a touchdown dependent league, and I like Dobbins.
But a back that has a lot of receiving upside, even if we don't do PPR, tends to be, always tends to be more of a dominant back.
Yep.
Right? So,
Yep.
I mean, other than Derrick Henry, he's one of the exceptions. He doesn't really catch the ball that much, but he's just a rushing machine. Okay. So that's an interesting one. Where do you see him going in the draft?
I don't see him going until maybe end of second round.
Second round. Okay.
Early third, it's end of second round, early third round, right around there, depending on when the run of quarterbacks start going. But I would say that's probably where he would end up going. Okay. In a 10-man league, right? In our league, right? If we're using our league as an example, 10-man, then I would say right around there. Maybe even early third round.
Okay. Do you agree, Jarvis?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
Okay. All right. What's your assessment?
The Ravens are signing Todd Gurley today.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
So away.
That maybe changes things.
Yeah. All right. So why don't you get off your magazine and get on?
I knew that was a perfect setup. I knew it was coming. I knew it.
Oh, that was nice. That was really
good.
Nice.
That was good. Touche.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I do not have, for that very reason, Dobbins is number 6 on my list.
Wow.
The last one of all of them.
The last one. All right, let me go through why. And okay, let me preface this. I like his talent. He was a high draft pick. For whatever reason, I have this feeling that Baltimore wants to keep him buried on the depth chart. I don't know why, but they're just not going to give him the reins. So 1 and 2 was tough for me. Taylor, I put Taylor at 1 ultimately because I think Indy has more of a traditional offense where he's going to get more opportunities. With KC, Azar, I watched you with CEH last year. He just disappeared for weeks on end for you, whereas at least Taylor was grounding out 15 touches a game. I mean, Taylor for me he either scored 10 points or 16 points. He either had 100 yards and a touchdown or like 40 yards and a touchdown. So it was somewhere between 10 and 16, and it was consistent. And he's only supposed to expand. So I gave him the edge due to opportunity and old school running offense. So Taylor goes to 1. CEH being on the Chiefs, he doesn't have any threats to really his playing time. And really, like, he's the guy that's going to be on the goal line. He's kind of that Maurice Jones-Drew, like real thick-legged goal line.
But they didn't use him that much in the goal line. That was the problem.
They didn't,
he was like 20 yards out. If he was 20 yards out, and if he scored from there, that was his thing. But
I think the ass whooping they got handed in the Super Bowl is going to bring them back to earth a little bit and try to balance things out, because Mahomes cannot get laid out to dry like that, or they're going to lose him as their franchise quarterback to injury. He was so injured last year with his toe, with his knee, that they're going to have to give CEH more of a consistent role and really make sure they work on the running game every week to protect Mahomes' longevity. So
I still think Kelsey's a threat in the end zone. I feel like
Damian Williams still there.
But I think one of them, there was 2. There was Damian, Darrell. There was they're cut in half. Whatever it is, I don't know which one's gone, but they're not all there.
Okay.
Damien was the one that opted out of last year
for COVID.
Yeah, yeah, and he finished
Hey, I didn't
strong the year
interrupt you in
before
your
that.
list, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. I'm sorry. No,
It's
continue.
only two.
Well,
So
you just had to pick one, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Why don't you just go for your full 6? We already know your 6 was Dobbins. We know you're 1 and 2. We got 3 more to go. Let's go.
I think Taylor is going to go by the end of round 1, beginning of round 2. I think somebody's going to reach for him around that swing there.
Okay.
So the next 3, the 3 in the middle, are all kind of running back by committee. So it's really just who had the least amount of noise around them. And Cam Akers, that they didn't do anything to the running back by committee except they got rid of either Malcolm Brown or Darrell Henderson. One of them's gone. So by default, Akers gets elevated. They relied on him heavily in the last year at the end, except the 1 week I needed him. Gibson and Robinson. So I have Gibson above Robinson. There's a lot going on with there's some suck running backs in Washington, like J.D. McKissick. Remember that guy? He was in Aza. You loved him. Well, so there's a report today that you wouldn't have in your magazine.
I guess I go.
There's a report out today. You did.
I had Gibson. I actually liked Antonio Gibson. I had him last year.
I guess McKissick showed up, is reporting with 15 pounds of muscle that he put on so he could be more of an every down player and challenge Gibson. And I don't know if he's going to be any good. I know they like Gibson, but
who's the quarterback there?
So what's his name? Hank Henneke is beating out Fitzpatrick. Early reports out of camp.
I like Henneke. Heineke, whatever the hell.
Heineke, whatever. So again, all of this revolves around the fact that it's the Washington football team. So by default, he's down to, down to number 4. And then Robinson, he was nasty, but they drafted Etienne, and I have no idea what impact he's going to have. He's a first-round pick. He's an elite challenge to that RBBC role that they could put him. So I kind of ranked it on who was being challenged the least to the most for those 3.
And he played with Lawrence too.
So and he played with Lawrence. So who knows?
Yeah,
but you know what? I was looking at Robinson's numbers. He only had 7 rushing touchdowns and
doesn't matter. Look at how he affected each week.
The receiver, he was
solid. He was about 300 yards receiving. Compared
was it
to
only that much?
Yeah, it was.
Asa, just look at his. Just go through his.
I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm just saying I was surprised.
So I think COVID Boy had him last year. He picked him up after week 2 or 3, and it was the only reason that he was competitive any week.
Yeah,
was because
COVID Boy, his team sucked.
Robinson was 20 plus points,
but it's just I thought his numbers were much bigger than what they were. So he had 340 yards receiving, and he had 3 receiving touchdowns, just broke 1,000 rushing yards, and had 7 rushing touchdowns. It wasn't as dominant as I thought when I was watching him from you're right. You're sitting there wow, he's having all these great weeks, and I thought they just added up, but it wasn't as
But I think it was spread out. I think so out of those 7 rushing, 3 receiving, I think it was 1 a week. So every week the guy delivered a touchdown.
Yeah.
I think if he didn't have 100 yards rushing, then he had receiving yards. So he was 120 yards and a touchdown every week.
Yeah,
the guy was money.
Yeah.
Every week, 120 and a touch.
He was giving you at least
but it's not 100
10 points every week.
Yeah, 10 points. But it's not an elite
16. He had 100 yards and a touchdown every week.
Okay.
Total. Total 100 yards and a touch.
Yeah. Well, we totaled the yards. So, the guy was putting 16 to 20 up.
Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't a touchdown every week. But but I get your point. It's overall, he was consistent.
So, to kind of go with what you were saying, I actually think Taylor is probably out of that class is probably going to be the most elite running back. He had what did he have? Almost 1,200 yards rushing. He had almost 300 yards receiving. He had 11 rushing touchdowns. He almost felt like a full-time back. And I don't even think he was full-time the whole season, was he?
No, because he lost it. Naheem Hines would blow up.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Randomly.
So I think coming into the season, if he is the guaranteed full-time back, I think he has the most upside out of the group.
So not to interrupt you, because Jarvis already gave me a hard time for interrupting him, but because you're bringing up Taylor, I need to say, who's the starting running back before at the beginning of last season? Who was there? It wasn't Taylor.
No,
It was
wasn't.
Marlon Mack.
Marlon Mack. So Marlon Mack is back, right? So is he gonna? So you look at Taylor last year. Mack got injured really early on. This is
Week
the luck of Jarvis there, where he drafted him and I shit on him.
That is very
he
true.
was my jackass pick, and all of a sudden Mack gets injured and Taylor ends up having a good year. But Mack is back. Do they like Mack enough where they're like, hey, it's a running back by committee? We're only basing it on what Taylor provided last year. We're like, oh, he's a high draft pick. He put up all these numbers.
What's your magazine got him ranked?
They got him ranked pretty high. But this is to your point earlier. It's like let the guys look at those magazines and say, oh, Taylor. Meanwhile, Mack is hovering, right? He's lurking in the background.
But didn't they draft Taylor high? Wasn't Taylor a high draft pick?
Yeah.
So they
not
invested,
that high, but he was high.
Yeah, but
it
for
was
them,
like a top 5 pick.
But they made an investment in Taylor, and there was a lot of hype about him, and there was already talk. Remember, and again, Jarvis took him because there was already talk that Taylor could take the starting role from Mack eventually later in the season. He just lucked out that the injury kind of accelerated that opportunity for him. So why would they go back to Marlon Mack when the rookie proved he could handle the load? Like, he proved to them, I can do this. So I just see Marlon Mack taking more of a secondary role. Even if he stays, he's taking a secondary role if they keep him. I just don't see him beating out Taylor, who clearly just can show that he won the job last year. But that's where training camp comes in. That you again, that could change if the preseason Marlon Mack is doing all the first team offense and everything like that, then we have to say, oh, maybe Taylor doesn't have the starting role locked in. We don't know, but that's tricky. But I think Taylor out of that group just has so much upside, and I like the team around him. I think there's just so much more upside with Taylor at this point. And Hilaire, I just have to see what they're going to do for a third down back. I'm just nervous that he didn't earn that role with Andy Reid. And Andy Reid's a weird dude. Like, sometimes he makes some breaks where you pass on a guy because you're like, he's not that big and nothing. And then all of a sudden he's like the most explosive running back. That's what I thought last year. But it didn't happen with Hilaire. There's something about Hilaire. Oh. Yeah, but he's had
Brian Westbrook
backs.
Was small.
That's what I mean. Like, he's had small backs and it made them explode on the scene. There's something about.
But that was my point last year before the season started, where I wasn't a big fan of CEH, just because Mahomes is there. Mahomes is going to put up his numbers. Unless their offense like significantly dramatically breaks records for total touchdowns scored, it's Mahomes that's going to get all those touchdowns. He's going to pass, and then the defense takes the ball. Then the time's ticking away, and it just less opportunities for CEH. So you look at all the great offenses over the years. How many times have you had a great quarterback throwing 40+ touchdowns and have a great running back who is worthy of round 1 status? It's not that many, right? You either get like kind of one or the other. It's very rare.
Edgerrin James had great years under Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning was always a top quarterback.
I'm talking about the last 10 years. It's a little bit of a different era now where quarterbacks are putting up consistently 40+ touchdowns and running backs.
And now Tomlinson, had Phillip Rivers, but again,
sure, I'm saying, but Phillip Rivers at those times when LaDainian Tomlinson ran for 28 touchdowns, right? What was Rivers' numbers? He wasn't. I don't think he was like a top 5 quarterback. Like there's just so much for the ball to go around. That's how I looked at it. If Mahomes has a down year, then yes, then CH could put up those huge numbers. But are you gonna count
Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara? You had Stafford. What the hell's that kid's name? Gurley.
You're talking the
last 10 years.
No. The last few years with Drew Brees. Drew Brees wasn't a top 5 quarterback last year with Kamara.
No, 2 years ago he was.
Kamara didn't put up the numbers 2 years ago as you would think. No.
Yeah,
and Drew Brees wasn't like this phenomenal quarterback even 2 years ago. He didn't put up huge numbers.
I think he put up 30+ touchdowns. When Kamara exploded on the scene, Brees had put up that many.
Yeah, but I'm talking
Aaron
like
Rodgers
another stratosphere.
Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones had like 20 fucking touchdowns.
Aaron Jones, what was he ranked as running back? Right. I mean, yeah, he had a good year, but he had
He went in
some
the first
really
round.
down games. He's done some down games.
Well, that's
Aaron
not
Jones
what you're
was-
saying. You're saying who had a top performing quarterback with a first round running back, and I'm just giving you names. You're then turning that steak snake around and biting me with it. You asked for a specific question. I gave you a specific answer, and you now are yelling at me for it.
No, I don't think Aaron Jones.
Jarvis
are
likes
people
to answer your
gonna
question,
take-
and you better shut up. You answered your
yeah,
question.
exactly.
Do not twist the topic, but yeah. Anyways, not to get into the weeds because we're going to be diving into top running backs and all this stuff. But just to
Which,
finish,
by the way, I did want to just say too. You mentioned earlier, and I had a thought about J.K. Dobbins versus Jonathan Taylor. They were both second round picks. I didn't realize that they were drafted that low. I thought they were both first round picks. They were both in the middle, towards the end of the second round when both those guys taken. So to your point about Taylor, they drafted him high for a reason. Well, Baltimore drafted Dobbins high for a reason as well.
The
So
Colts Colts traded up, even though it was only 3 spots. The Colts traded up to get Taylor. Dobbins sat behind a falling off the PED wagon Mark Ingram, Gus freaking Edwards, and whatever other suckbag they rolled out there in Baltimore.
But also, but with Taylor, to your point, you still got Mack and you still got Hines.
Mack hurt his knee. No, he was never behind Hines. Hines had one game where he broke out.
I didn't say he was behind Hines. I said he was. I was going to say he was behind.
You did. I cut you off. I should have let you keep going.
I did not say it. So you're anticipating what I was about to say as being true.
So Taylor had a bad fumble. Hines came in, and then they benched Taylor the next game to teach him.
Hines was their third round. He was their third down back. Jonathan Taylor and Mack were going to split carries. Mack was probably going to get maybe 60% of the carries to his 40%.
Down the stretch,
and Hines was going to be
phased out
the third down back.
He did.
Down the stretch, Hines got phased out completely.
Hines disappeared because I remember people chasing him for points.
No, he did. He did. But I'm saying at the beginning of the season, that was the plan.
Yeah, but
moving into it.
But again.
But that's what Jarvis's point is saying about Dobbins. He goes, well, he was like all these
Dobbins
other guys
has a different.
there.
My point with Dobbins is he has a different feel in Baltimore. In Indy, they felt like they were trying to give the opportunity to Taylor. In Baltimore, I feel like they're trying to keep Dobbins down. Like I feel like it's more of a Patriots thing where like you have this Damian Harris ready to break out, and they keep throwing Sony Michel in front of him, and you're like, what is this? And then they draft another kid, Ramondre, whatever his name is, Stevens this year. Like, we have Damian Harris. Let's let this kid run. You got J.K. Dobbins. I want to see what he can do. I think he's worthwhile, but why sign Todd Gurley? They didn't go out and Indianapolis didn't go out and sign Adrian Peterson, which is what Todd Gurley's about the equivalent.
No, because they already have Mack. Why do they need to sign another guy? They have Mack.
He just likes saying Mac. He's just excited because he wants to keep saying Mac.
Or you know what? At the end of the day, I could also be just full of shit too. You guys will never know.
We know you're full of shit. That's a given.
I deal with all debates with you. I start with that like as a caveat.
Yeah. I could love Akers for all you guys know. Akers could be my guy.
Akers is actually a good back.
No, bullshit. Akers screwed me.
Yeah, but that's just
1 week he didn't do crap is the week that I was like, all right, let's roll. And he laid an egg, and my monster of a team last year.
But it's going to be the roulette. That is a true. You got to see how training camp plays out and who they cut.
Yeah, I'm so mad at Akers. Screw that. I move him down my list.
He's 6 now. Dobbins is moving up. He's moving up.
He's still above Dobbins.
It doesn't matter. We all know Jarvis is taking Miles Sanders in the first round.
And then Aaron Rodgers in the second round.
Give me some
Aaron Rodgers in the second.
Aaron Rodgers second.
And then Boston Scott to back him up in the third round. We all know
an early handcuff.
You fruitcakes.
All right. So you know what? This is turning into a nice long podcast for the fans, which is good. So
the raccoon will be happy.
The raccoon will be happy. Again, we're taking next week off. So I think
you know what I'm disappointed about, Azar? Can I have a closing thought?
Sure. Go ahead. Talk about oranges.
The Olympics.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for the Olympics.
I am too.
Not many people get geared up. Listen,
so
my one take on the Olympics is it's the one time, like, okay, so you got pro athletes and like the basketball team is nauseating, but in any sport, it doesn't matter what you watch. If you turn on any Olympic sport, you're watching people compete for the most pure of reasons. They've worked hard for 4 years to get this one opportunity. It's an opportunity of a
Now
lifetime.
5 years.
Now 5, right? So it's not like they're playing for a contract. I know there's endorsements and money, but it's not like they're trying to play for a contract. They're not trying to save themselves for this prolonged career. They're putting everything they have on the line that they worked 4 years for, and it's the most pure sport display of just human just effort. There's a word that I'm looking for, but you watch any Olympic sport and you are watching people compete for their country for the right reasons.
And it's a big deal too. It's not like they're just winning some, whatever
I agree.
rec
I
league
agree.
like award. It's
I'm not against the Olympics. I actually
Olympic
like
gold medal.
I'm a
But
big
I
summer
get
Olympics
into
person. I'm not as big in the winter.
Summer. I can do it all. Any sport, you throw it on TV. It's what, because it's also not like you're watching a season. There are some events that have the preliminaries, the quarters, and the heat, and then they have the finals. I get that, but unless you're watching the tournament sports, so unless you're watching basketball, swimming, I guess golf and baseball now are in. So you watching those, fine. You're going to get a couple of rounds, but the races, track, all of that, you don't
like
and
swimming?
I love
Swimming.
swimming. I love
swimming.
Listen, I love. Did you guys? So
Is it opening up on Wednesday?
Friday night, 8:30 is the opening
love it.
ceremonies.
I love it. I get sucked in.
But are there matches already occurring? Because
there's exhibitions and warm-ups, and there's qualifiers and things like that. So countries, America has so many athletes, they have to hold qualifiers. If you were in Trinidad and Tobago and were the best runner in the island, you would have no competition. You would just be going to the Olympics.
Okay.
But you have to be able to run. So the Olympics have qualifying times. The difference is America has a ton of athletes that fall under the qualifying time, so they have to have trials. Most other countries don't have to have trials.
Okay, because
they do exhibitions. Like the basketball team has been getting destroyed.
Yeah,
by every other country.
That I know. I was looking because of my daughter. I'm looking forward to the softball, the Olympic team for the softball.
Oh my God!
What
a watchable product! I was so upset because I was listening to the radio today and somebody called in with this point on Felger and Maz, and I was so bullshit because I wanted to bring it up. What a watchable product! Like the college women's softball World Series.
Oh, it's a great product. If people don't
holy
watch
cow!
It's so underappreciated.
It was
pace
so
of play.
Good.
Yeah.
Couple of things that are corny that I don't like, but I can forgive it considering how much other it does well. So I'm looking forward to the Olympics. I know I just went off on college softball, but still, I'm looking forward to the Olympics. I will watch it like I watched Shark Week last week. It is just on the TV 24 hours a day. And if you're not ready for the Olympics, go on, I think it's Peacock that had it. I'll double check, but there was a documentary on the race, it was the relay race, the swimming relay race, where it was in Beijing and France was the favorite, and Phelps, it was the second race when Phelps won the 8 gold medals. The second race was the 400 free. So 4 guys had to swim 100, which is up and back freestyle. And France had 4 sprinters that were all under world record time or right at it, and America didn't. So there was no chance we could win. And so it's a 1-hour episode, and every 15 minutes they highlight each leg. So there was Cullen Jones is a leg, Michael Phelps was a leg. So they take the 4 swimmers and they kind of talk about their backstory, all going through every 15 minutes, highlighting that segment of the race, kind of how and culminating to the end of it. Oh, what a story. If you can't get jacked up watching something like that, and then at the very, very end of it, they show the race from start to finish, and it's goosebump worthy. And if you can't watch that and get up for the Olympics, then I don't want to watch a sport with you.
No, I love it, Jarvis. I'm backing you up 100% on that. I do get into it. I love Phelps, the last 4 Olympics that he was in, right? It was must-watch television. And that was they were so exciting to watch. Now that Phelps, he was supposed to be gone before the last Olympics. He came back. Now that he's officially gone, I'm actually interested in the women's Olympics
Katie
swimming because
Ledecky.
Katie Ledecky, right?
Holy smoke, she's so
She's the
dominant.
new, like, she's the female version of Phelps, and so it's
You get
exciting
to
just to
see
watch her.
Katie Ledecky in what could be her last Olympics, that she's in her prime. You can see Simone Biles in her last Olympics and what could be her prime.
Greatest gymnast of all time.
I mean, this is stuff that, like, you think back, and I know I'm going to use this guy and he's wacky now, but like, you think back at like Bruce Jenner winning the decathlon, and he's the greatest athlete, right? Like, when an American wins a sport like that, they become instant celebrities, and they go right. The Miracle on Ice. You gotta watch to see this happen. Michael Phelps, the race, all like. And in that same Olympics, Phelps had to win the it was either the IM or the butterfly. When he won that gold medal, he won by like 100th of a second coming into the wall. Like, you can't be a part of those moments if you don't watch. Yeah. But when those moments happen,
Usain Bolt, all those track and field moments,
everything. When those moments happen, you hear about them and they live forever. They make movies out of, but like, you can't ever say, I remember watching it and it was like the movie tried and it did a great job. But like, could you imagine watching the Miracle on Ice game, the actual Russian game? And like, you just can't recreate that.
Yeah. I think it's when you see the pure emotion come from some of these athletes when they win.
Because that is like, exactly.
It's true. It's real.
It's nothing but fortitude, right? The Olympics are built around fortitude. Pro sports are built around marketing and contracts and business. Pro sports have been convoluted. The Olympics are built on fortitude, and that is the essence of sport. It is the most true, pure entertainment you can get when watching sport. And I am all in. Winter, summer, it doesn't matter. This is what these people commit their lives to. And the least I can do is give them my time of day.
All right. And time on the podcast. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was
can I just make my one last real quick. My one last thing is the one thing I look forward to in the Olympics, every time the Olympics are on, and Jarvis, I think you can appreciate this. NBC has that montage at the end of the Olympics where they have like all the great scenes throughout the Olympics, and they have the Remember the Titans theme song playing in the background. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, it gives you goosebumps. You can YouTube these. Azar, go back and YouTube 2016, 2012, whatever. Go back and YouTube. I don't know how you could actually find it. You could just say, Remember the Titans theme song, Olympic NBC montage, or whatever you want to, however way you do it, I'm sure it'll come up. And they're usually like 4 to 5 minutes of like all the great scenes with the music playing in the background. I'm telling you, if that doesn't give you goosebumps, then I don't know what does.
Okay. Oh, I can tell you some things that give me goosebumps, but we won't get into that. All right. Well, you guys gave us plenty of closing thought. We took up some time, so we're gonna stop right there because we went on.
That was worth it. That was worth it.
Olympic tangent, and I warned you guys. Big Meat and Jarvis.
Best closing thoughts of all time, Jarvis.
Yeah, that was seriously.
That was the
seriously. Goat. You can't beat that.
Look at these two guys are gonna rub each other out after this. All right,
I might.
We're gonna wrap it up there. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks. It will be the first week of August, so we will be kicking off our true fantasy football season. So they definitely will be fantasy football heavy podcast. So if you have friends getting ready for their draft, it's time to spread the word. Start listening in because we will be diving in to our predictions and projections in a couple weeks. This is it. Getting ready, boys. Get your magazines. Don't forget.
Get your magazines. Exactly.
Thank you, Jarvis, for joining us.
And glad to be here. Good to be back.
Have a good night.
Yeah, boys.
Take care.